3, 2, 1.
All right, so Kaizen is a Japanese term meaning change for the better or continuous improvement. So I guess this podcast, we want to cover a topic on raising your standards. And what are your thoughts on this one, boys?
I think this one goes hand in hand with what we're touching on in the first episode. So if you guys haven't seen that about your top 5 heroes, you better go back and check this one because this is like the next one along. So we're talking about if you find your top 5 heroes, and that is all about raising your standards. So you can't just watch your heroes and then just think that you're doing a good job. You have to actually bring in and absorb that and actually act like them. So when we're on this journey, we actually have to start to think like, hey, we're the hero too. We need to raise our standards to a certain level, and we need to improve, and we need to be different.
Yeah, I think it's using. I think we said it in the last podcast as well, but it's using those heroes, right, to become the best version of you. It's not to become them; it's to become the best version of you, to become your own hero. Right? I don't want to. I've been trying to not quote Matthew McConaughey all day.
Go ahead, man.
But his beautiful line is Matthew McConaughey's hero is him in 10 years. He's always chasing a better version of himself.
Say the line.
Right? Huh?
Say the line.
I'm not saying it, boss.
You can never be your hero.
So I reckon a good way to think about it is like coming from video games, like when you're playing like a role-playing game, like Warcraft or like Fable or something. Like you start with like your really basic character, and he's like level 0, and you like got no armor, you got no nothing, and then you got all of those like accolades, your strengths and your intelligence and like all your spells and all that type of stuff.
Speed.
Speed.
You know what's weird? Whenever we play those type of games, why are we more invested in that character than in ourselves? Like we don't see ourselves as an RPG character where we don't even like I guess identify what level we're at.
Well, can I touch in on this actually? I think it's lack of belief in ourselves. I definitely do think that.
Yeah.
Like we don't believe we can reach this high, like this high standard that we set for ourselves. But that's what I think. And it's hard to believe in ourselves these days, I feel like.
What comes along with like the entrepreneurial journey, or really any business journey, but entrepreneur is probably the right word there, is, we do a lot of these things of preaching the message of any other one of these heroes, or, preach the message of listen to your heroes. But then we've got up on the board there is walk the walk. You actually have to do it. You have to become the hero of your own journey. And I think that's a Joe Rogan quote, right? Become the hero of your own journey. And you have to actually put the action out there, be accountable to what you say you're going to do, and get it done. Like that's building trust, and a massive thing that we focus on here at Hardcore is reputation, right? Building that reputation, building that trust with you guys, building that trust with each other is accountability and consistency.
Yeah.
So we have to consistently walk the walk.
For sure. And I think what does every successful person have in common? And it's just high standards. And a good example would be when Jeff Bezos decided to step down as CEO, and he was mentoring Andy Jassy, who is now the current CEO of Amazon. Andy Jassy thought he was high standards, but Jeff Bezos was another level above him. And, being mentored for that 1 year, he realized, shit, I need to raise my standards.
Do you guys think it can be overwhelming when you like initially raise your standards really high?
Yeah, I think it should be as well.
Yeah.
I think it should be a shock, because if you're going on this journey and you're thinking like it's not overwhelming and it's actually going to be easy, dude, you got bloody massive ego issues and have no self-awareness. It should actually be really daunting and really scary. We call it the dip. You'll start learning a little bit, and if you think you're near the top, there's no way you're near the top at all. You're about to fall off a bloody cliff, go down that cliff for like 2-3 years, and then you got to work up the other side of it, and then you might get there.
Let's get more deeper into that, the dip. So like when you're first starting off learning something, you have this excitement about you, and you're up this really high plateau, and then you begin to level out, because then it's about to hit you of the things that you don't know or the things that you need to get better at. And that's the dip. And if you're not willing to put in the effort of going through that hard phase of consistent hard work, learning new things, being actionable, then you're going to quit. So I guess you have to see the end result. And I think that's what you were saying, G. Like, we don't believe in ourselves, which is why we don't want to level up. We don't think we can level up because we can't imagine the future state. But if we can visualize a future state, then we set our standards high so we can achieve the future state and we can get through that dip.
If you're in a position where you're attempting to raise your standards and you're not scared of them, it means you haven't raised them high enough, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, you need to be self-aware. If you're not scared of this, you're simply, like, you're thinking too small. You need to think all the way up here. It should terrify you.
I think the thing as well to touch on is like, why are actually your standards like so important? Is because if we study all of the best, most successful people in the world, that's the one common thing that they all do.
Yeah.
You know, they all have these standards are just so extremely high. You just can't get there. If you really truly want to be an A class at something, it has to come down to how high you hold yourself.
I think another example of incredibly high standards is probably Steve Jobs. When he literally redesigned the computer. Before, back in the day, the power supply of computers could not fit into that one box. He got his team of engineers to literally redesign it, and everyone thought it wasn't possible, but he had those high standards. Even in the interior has to look a certain way as well.
Yeah.
Even
That's
though
the big thing.
even though the end user doesn't even see it, for him that's his level. It has to be that high, even the interior, the things that you can't see.
I think the high
That's crazy.
standards one is always like behind the closed door. For me, it's always made more of an impact behind closed doors. It's like the small details. For us, it's the deets, right? The detail cleaning that we have to do. Like if we do that half-assed, or if we do anything half-assed, you know, it's going to play a bigger and larger impact down the road. You know, it starts to build those bad habits of taking shortcuts. You know, like you have to have your standards as high as possible. And I think we're all in the same boat now, where it's like, dude, if we don't do something 100%, we think about it all night and we come back and get it done.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm really, really tired, or something, anything like that. Our standards are here, or to a point now. You know,
I think if you let yourself off, like example is those detailed cleaning, right? If we let ourselves off, then we give ourselves permission to be that level next time. Versus if you just get it done and go against how you're feeling, of, you know, you're feeling lazy, you're not feeling motivated, but you still get it done, that is in the long term going to be more beneficial for you versus if you allow yourself to just be lazy.
And maybe like a good analogy for people is like when they go to work, like their standards at their job, their standards at their work. You know, if you're not doing your best work all the time, then, well, you're affecting the culture of the entire work, right? Which is really damaging to whether you're the boss or whether you're not. Like, if you're wanting to progress and wanting to promote, it stands out if you are that person who has high standards and, you know, always does their best at everything. You know, if you're focusing on the smaller details, you know, even if you just want to work a normal job and want to continuously get a promotion, your manager's going to notice that over someone else.
Yeah. Kind of like think of us like maybe like an operating system or something. Like, people think that they can walk into a certain task at hand and say, hey, with this certain task, I'm going to have high standards, right? And then they, for some reason, like with the rest of their life, they're like, I'm going to have low standards. But I feel like you just you have to program yourself a certain way. So you have to just have high standards with just absolutely everything. You know, it starts with making your bed, cleaning the house like we do. And it doesn't make sense. Like, a normal person is going to come into our house thinking, boys, this is more work than cleaning an actual restaurant. No joke. Right? And to the untrained eye, it looks like that's a waste of time. But then that starts the day. We have our standards here. So then when we actually jump into proper work, our standards are already there again. So then that's just our default. You know, it becomes our default that we are people that operate at a high standard.
You remember that sentence maybe back at Nando's or any other job is like, might be working with someone, no one else is there. It might be a friend or something like that, and you don't clean something perfectly. That person, if they don't have high standards, they say this sentence every time. It's like, oh, it's all right. No one will see. It's all right. Don't worry about it. No one's going to notice it.
Yeah, but
That's
it's
a major.
in your conscious, right?
I know.
Yeah.
I know, and that's 10 times worse.
Got to do it for yourself.
Gotta
That's
do it for yourself, right?
But
you're training your own brain.
Even then, like, it rubs off into your environment. Like, now that I've moved into here, I moved in February, and my standards are so much higher because, you know, one thing is the deeds. I go to work now, and I'm cleaning like everything at work. When I go home, I'm cleaning to my parents' home. I'm cleaning everything in my parents' home.
Dude, my poor parents have. They don't clean the shit. I'm there just.
But
Just scrubbing this. Like,
Dude, whenever I go to my sister's house, shout out to my sister, by the way. I'm literally just like trying to clean as much as I can.
Yeah.
Really?
I just can't see, because we trained ourselves to live a certain way, right?
yeah,
And to not see as much garbage around.
yeah,
As soon as you see like a little bit of garbage, you're like, what's that doing, man?
mm.
Yeah.
It rubs off into your environment, and it
Yeah.
makes your environment, everything that you do, makes it better.
Whenever you're around that environment of it's not clean all the time, you kind of feel lethargic.
Mm.
You feel more negative. You have negative thoughts coming in.
Like, one thing us boys were trying to do, and we should probably do more of, but is like the garbage. How we got the garbage bags, and we went literally outside the circuit. We live in a circuit, and we picked up all this rubbish like around the
Oh,
circuit and put in
yeah.
the garbage bag.
Yeah, we need to do
Like,
that more.
We need to do that more.
Yeah.
But it's like one thing that's like it's rubbed off into us.
yes, like I'm lucky enough to have that big window where I can see through.
Yeah.
You have no idea how good it looks, like in comparison to when the rubbish is there. Like it seems obvious, but when you can see it and there's no rubbish there, and we know that we played a part in not making sure that rubbish is not there, it feels amazing. Right? It's literally uplifting, and like we touched on environment there. We should like go deeper to like the alternative. Is if like your environment is bad, and where do your standards come from?
Yeah. Like everybody else, they'll just go and like say, you know, they'll complain about the neighbor. Like, oh, the fucking neighbor, you know, they're not cleaning up their shit and all of that. But what do we actually do? We do their work. We did 50 houses worth of work. We cleaned up everything. No one asked us to. You know, every probably 3 months or so we do it. We're due to do it now.
When it gets like really, really, really bad,
Yeah.
it's like we're out there.
Yeah. And then it actually inspires people. Because if you just complain to them and, you know, and the funny thing is if we were to complain, we're not going to their actual house and complaining to them. So nothing's actually going to change because they don't hear any feedback or anything.
Dude,
But-
one lady came up to me
Yeah.
and then she was like, "Oh, you guys are amazing for doing this." Like, it literally like brightened up her day. Like, just
I
us
saw
cleaning.
I saw a lady actually doing it as well. I was like, I've got to think that maybe, you know, we had some form of
Influence, yeah.
influence in that. It's pretty deep, but like, I guess like the flip side to a good environment is a bad environment. Right? When you're in a bad environment, that's more often than not where those standards are brought through from.
I feel like every day that you're in a bad environment, it negatively compounds your mindset. So, like that video game analogy, like you're not leveling up, you're actually losing points every single day.
Absolutely.
You're in a negative environment.
Yeah.
But it's up to you, right? You can make that decision of changing your environment. You
Yeah.
don't have to necessarily move. You can listen to your top 5 heroes all the time. You can make a plan for how you want to live and then just raise your standards every single day.
Well, as
Raise your
Dylan said in the
standards.
last episode, like be the leader of your friend group, be the leader of your environment.
Yeah.
Right? You have to make that change first. If you're that person who's thinking like that, of like, fire, what is going on here? You know, I want to do more, I want to be more, then it's most likely you're the leader. Be the leader in your group and raise the standards for everyone. And if people say that line that we said before of like, oh, no one's watching, it's not worth it, what's the point, etc., then again, it's more likely that they're not meant to be running with you. They're probably not meant to be in your group. Anyone that when you raise your standards as the leader and someone follows you, someone realizes they're not doing a good enough job, that's the people you want to run with, because that's the people who are going to continuously put in the progression too.
something that I saw a lot at Nando's was people would always say the thing that, hey, I'm only going to work hard when I have my own business. For me,
It's the best shit.
it's just like, one, you're going to be training your brain for the next 10 years to be at such a low level that you can't even operate a business. Two, you're not going to be recognized in the current work environment to be promoted, to get those skills to operate your own business. So you're missing out on, in two different ways. But people don't get it. So I can maybe, like, as an example, like what we used to do at Nando's is we used to say, like, well, what do we actually mean by high standards? Like, I always used to think of myself like literally comparing against other people. I want to be worth at least 3 other staff. So I'm making the boss a profit on labor. Because if it's costing them $20 an hour per person and me $20 as well, I want to have an output of $60 every single hour. So it's actually cheap. Or like when we're like on the tills, like taking customers' orders, I'll be trying to upsell to get in at least $20 of extra value from upsells. So I became free for that hour. So like that was always the targets for like the standards I'll set for myself. Like what can I actually do? I don't want to be a burden on, the owner of this business. I want to be there, the one providing value and being actually free for the business.
I think as probably like that person that was able to witness that, my standards were not that high at that time, simply wasn't developed enough. But being able to watch that is that environmental change that we're talking about. Like that helped me or believe in him more because he's thinking wildly different to a lot of the people, anyone else. But it lets you look at that person like he was the leader. He lets you look at that leader and be like, far out. Okay, I want to compete.
Yeah.
I want to go and try and be like this guy.
Yeah.
This dude's worth 60. I want to try and be worth 70. He's a savage, so it's hard. But, you want to raise your standards with that person, with that leader.
And yeah, like that's what we started to implement when I became the manager at Nando's. And a lot of staff, they weren't used to it. So they would complain, oh, you're just doing that because you want to make more money for the business. So you look good and you get a pay raise or something. And one thing, the pay raises didn't work like that there. And I'm not doing it for the business owner. I'm doing it for myself. And you can check. I don't only do it here; it's in every aspect of life. Come to my house. It's gonna be all operating smoothly, right? And we look at every single area of life. It's not just at home. It's not just at work. It's our relationships with everybody. It's literally looking at every single factor of our lives and constantly trying to improve them with the Kaizen mindset. I think maybe another thing to touch on as well is like the best movie. Like what documentary comes to mind when we're talking about Kaizen?
Oh, a little bit Jiro. Jiro dreams of sushi.
That guy.
It's hard to forget the turtle.
I feel like that's going to be you when you're 90.
But yeah, there's this great documentary. It's Jiro Dreams of Sushi. He's known as like a sushi master. So practically, he dedicated his whole entire life to the art of sushi. Just to put it into context, like he was like probably when the documentary was made, probably in the 80s, I reckon.
Nah.
Yeah, it's hard because he looks 120 even. In the 80s, so.
Nah, I don't think it was the 80s.
Not 80s, what, 70s?
The documentary.
No, him. Like, how old was he? Was he 70 years of age?
When they made that documentary?
Yeah.
Nah, I think he was in his 80s, man.
Huh?
I think he was in the 80s, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant.
Just tripped out.
Oh, I thought you said he was filmed in the 80s.
Dude, no. Like, he's 80s, like 80 years old.
Oh my God.
Savage just lost it.
Sam went back in time, bro.
Savage just had that little simulation glitch.
That happens from time to time, boys. I had my coffee today, so.
Anyway, so he's 80, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
since
we
80s,
tell everybody that's starting this journey that they should check out that documentary. And it's not about the sushi. It's not about that. But it's about the mindset of Kaizen, to constantly be the best and see what you are capable of as a human, and to push whatever you're doing. And if you have that mindset to constantly improve at something, that something that you're working on actually will one day become, it's actually like art. So like, if someone does sushi bad, dude, it's just sushi. If you do it really, really well, it becomes art. Same as like coffee or anything.
Mm-hmm.
You do a shit job at coffee, you just, make it from Woolworths.
Yeah, I was going to say Starbucks.
Yeah.
Like, it's just normal stuff.
Yeah. It's like a commodity. But then when you really dedicate your life to it, to trying to improve absolutely everything about it, then it turns into an art. And so what these guys do is like to become like a proper like good at sushi, they would make it so you would have to perfect the art of cooking rice first, and that would take the average person 4 years. So you only have two tasks: cleaning dishes and cooking the rice day in and day out until you perfect it. Once you've perfected that, then you move on to the next level. And they're talking about, absolutely everything when it comes to the sushi: the cut of the fish, how to cut the fish, how to choose the fish, how fresh it needs to be. It's every single detail. And he admits at the age of roughly 80 that he is still learning and trying to improve every single day. And then how can you compete with that? Like, if you constantly have that as your goal to improve, like I find, like, if we just think about the current education system on a high level, people are saying that, hey, if I go to university for 4 or 6 years, I'm good, boys. It doesn't work like that. You've only got 6 years of experience, and you're only going to be like, here, this guy, he's been going for 70. You hit a certain level where if you constantly improve, you're like such an outlier and you become so rare because there's no supply of you in the marketplace.
That's a beautiful point. And I think touching on like that 4 years, because people will overlook that every single time. And like the first thought I remember mine, like when I hear someone's doing literally just working on rice for 4 years, it's like, fuck, what a waste of time. That's crazy. That's way too much, man. He can get that quicker he can learn that quicker than that. And then the mindset flips where it's like, it must take that long for a reason. Mastery doesn't come from doing anything for like 5, 10, 15 hours. Right.
And I think the problem in society is we always see the end picture. We don't see the process. So we didn't get to see 7 years of Jiro just grinding.
Oh, yeah.
But when you go taste his sushi, you can feel that. He's put in that work.
Yeah. And as a comparison, it's like the people that are now being trained by Jiro, they get it at such a refined like detail and like a refined course. Like it did not take Jiro 4 years to learn how to cook rice. It took him 20, 25. Like I don't know the answer, but it took him a hell of a lot of time. So when he's able to boil down a process and then create it in such a beautiful way for someone to learn, like there's value in that. Like it took us how many years? It took you how many years to come up with the trading, the investing?
Yeah, so many years, 6. It's even to this day, it's constantly getting improved.
Absolutely.
So we say it's 9 years in the making.
Yeah, 9 years in the making. And then throughout that process, you were teaching Samara and I, and then G as well. And, now we're starting to train other clients as well, where it's, as throughout the process, it gets refined and refined and refined, but it's always being made better as well.
The crazy thing about us is, like, I look at us and compare us to, like, the pros. And the pros are, like, 50. And I'm like, dude, I think we can beat you. That's a crazy thought, because we've only properly been doing this for, like, 9 years. Imagine when we've been doing it for another 10.
Yeah.
And we're still only 40. And then we do it for another 10. And then we are 50, the same age as them. Like, how are you boys going to compete?
Yeah, no disrespect, but
we're coming for you.
Good luck.
We're coming, Wall
We're on your
Street.
tail, boys.
What is that though? Like, how do we get so well accomplished at such only doing 9 years? Is it through technology because there's less books? I would say there's definitely an area of luck there. Finding the right books.
Yeah. There's luck in finding the right books, but
you create your luck, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We created the luck from the system of having the top 5 heroes.
Yeah.
So we would find our top 5 investing heroes, top 5 trading heroes.
Yeah.
And for me, when I was going on the journey of like developing the system, I would find like my top 5 heroes on how to execute and jump into the buy order of a trade. Then I'll try and find heroes on how to manage the trade and when to exit, and like just trying to find and nitpick on those little things. So you can look at anything in life. Like, is it business knowledge you're lacking? Is it character? Is it willpower? Is it, you don't know much about the law? You don't know much about taxes? All of these little things. You've got to look at yourself and build yourself up to a certain level.
Yeah, it's like that, again, back to that video game. character, right? So you're pretty much wearing a simulation, right? So if you're a video game character in a simulation, what are you going to do? Like, you're going to look at different attributes that you want to get better at. So let's say you want to get better at finance. You look at the top 5, get top 5 heroes in finance. You want to get better at fitness. Look at the top 5 fitness people that you can look up to, and just study them.
Absolutely. And like, bring it back to standards.
The key is best.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. A class. They have to be A class people.
That's your standard.
Bring it back to standards, like, make sure their standards are high. That's what's gonna make them A class.
Yeah.
And make sure you mirror standards. Your standards have to be just as high as these A class people.
I think with standards, it's not just about output and performance. It's also about integrity. Like, what are they like as a human being?
Yeah.
Because that rubs off on you if you're looking up to them. If you're looking up to a scam artist, right, just because they're so successful, that will rub off on you as well. It's like, it's
That's the
okay
thing,
to
though. When you're
deceive
starting
humans.
out, it's hard to tell. When
It's
you're
hard to
starting
tell,
out,
yeah.
it's only during the journey like you realize, fuck, this guy's a scammer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've come across
We've got
plenty.
Dude, how many guys are we like, this guy's all right, he's teaching us some good things, and then as we progress, CoffeeZilla gets him, and we're like,
Every time. CoffeeZilla. Thank God for CoffeeZilla.
We should
But-
explain CoffeeZilla to the boys.
I think it's fair to say as well, like, you're not gonna find that the top 5 heroes with perfectly high standards like straight away.
It takes
Yeah.
time.
It'll
Yeah.
take time. You're
It'll
gonna
take
find some people that are pretty shit.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna go through them. You're gonna go through like a stage, and then eventually you'll come to like, the one with the high standards. You'll understand why they have high standards.
Yeah, some people as well, they have ego attached to it just because they found that person. They're like,
Yeah.
the first guy I found about this, man, he's the best, man. He's the fucking.
Have you heard of
He's the
Peter
authority.
Thiel?
Do you know Peter Thiel?
Do you know Peter Thiel?
Quote from the last podcast.
Sorry,
Oh,
man.
no, that's all right.
no, that's funny.
But like, there is a lot of people that are like, they're like the top for getting you started. Like,
Yeah.
I say Robert Kiyosaki's the top for getting you started,
Yeah.
but he can't invest compared to Peter Thiel. There's not even.
Not even-
But Peter
Peter
Thiel
Thiel.
can't talk, so he can't explain things to a beginner
Yeah.
like Robert Kiyosaki can.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. So like, everyone has different holes in their game,
Mm.
and you've just got to like find the people that fill in every single hole.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Self-awareness, right?
Yeah.
Where are you at that stage?
Mm.
Blind people. Well, all right, let's not go too far away from it. Let's find who is CoffeeZilla, first of all, because people are going to love
So
this.
you can tell it. You want
Me?
to
All right. So CoffeeZilla is an internet detective.
Oh.
Yes, he's a self-proclaimed internet detective, and I think he is probably one of the best people at it. So he will dive really deep into someone that he thinks is questionable,
Mm.
and he has no bias going into them. Like, he'll literally research everything he can without any prejudice towards them. And if they are lacking, he will call them out.
Lacking is such a nice way of saying
Literally,
that.
like, there was one scam. I think there was a crypto scam about Save the Kids.
Save the
Oh.
kids.
Yeah, that was a crypto scam.
Yeah, it was
And-
one of the phase
Yeah,
boys,
the phase
Oh,
boys.
Phase Ray or
so
something.
And the thing is, with crypto, it's hard to trace the transactions, but he figured out a way how to trace them, and he got 3 boys out of like 7.
Yeah.
He traced
Yeah.
them and he got them. So he's very thorough with what he does. He's a proper internet investigator that deserves more credit, in my opinion. What do you boys think of him?
It's fantastic.
I think he's a great filter.
Fantastic at what he's doing.
He's a great filter.
Great.
He's no bias at no bias at all. No bias at all.
Yeah, so that's the big tip coming from us. Like, we use him as a scam checker. You quickly just type in
absolutely.
his name, because it does take a lot of time to figure out if these guys are
Yeah.
scammers or not. It might take 50 hours.
So the value he provides, he saves you so much time
Mm.
by him putting in those hours.
And his
And
videos are
figuring-
entertaining.
Super entertaining, man.
Scammers and influencers are getting good at like hiding and masking their true self for a long, long time until they make that one mistake. CoffeeZilla's just there. Gotcha. So
I think it's greed, man. Everyone has a price.
he has that healthy debate thing about him as well, where it's like, if I'm wrong, send me a video
literally,
back, and I'll.
or even come on a podcast
Yeah.
with me.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
you
he's
literally
done-
get
he's
him on a
done that before,
podcast and just, have a long form conversation with him, trying to get more context
Yeah.
about why he did a certain thing or why they
Yeah.
did a certain thing.
Mm.
I
So
think
he's-
that is a healthy discussion.
Yeah, he's not
Yeah.
one-sided. He's
Yeah,
like,
he's
these.
not. He gives them a chance.
I'm presenting the facts. These are the facts. If I'm wrong, come and CoffeeZilla me.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. All right,
Let's go coffee. Shout out to CoffeeZilla.
boys. What else have we got?
What do we have here, Buzz? Self-confidence comes from executing high standards. So as you get better and better and better, as you evolve over time, I guess, you stand out more. Like, you will gain more self-confidence because you're believing, like you said, G, we don't believe, right? You begin to believe because you're capable now.
Gets rid of a little bit of that imposter syndrome
Yep.
Yeah.
type of thing. Is like, if you're consistently accountable to living up to the standards that you set, then you're going to be more confident in what it is that you can do.
Yeah.
I think a good example of being more confident, I think it literally involves all of us, which is with trading. So the more we practice trading, the more confident we're going to get with our positions that we open, right? So imagine we didn't have any knowledge about how to read charts or understanding business fundamentals. We're just going in blind. Of course, you're not going to be confident. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. But by setting really high standards and only, putting your money where it's worth it, that will come with time. That'll come with, practicing.
So reps, right?
Reps.
So
iterations.
yeah, so continuously repping out at those high standards
Very high
will
standards.
give you more confidence in doing that, whatever that thing is. For us, another good example is podcast speaking, or speaking in general.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We've actually been speaking for, or not trying to film, but practicing our craft for a couple of months now. We don't just go straight into shooting. We've been practicing in a lot of the things we do when we speak to clients, when we train in trading, when we bring people onto our long-term investment portfolio, when we do all those kind of things, we're practicing, to be able to put out content for you guys.
And just like, if you're really starting, like, it's all about, if you want to get confidence, it's about just making a simple promise to yourself. Like, hey, my standard from now on is every time I'm going to wake up within a minute from when my alarm goes off. That's one promise. Second is, once I get out within that minute, I will make my bed. That's another promise. And if you keep executing those promises, and there could be many, many of them, then that's where your confidence comes from. But if you don't do it, you say I'm going to do it and you don't do it, then you're going to start to lose your self-confidence.
Absolutely. And I'm a believer of this. We'll see what you guys think. If you don't get it right, all right, don't hate yourself for it. Guess what? Get it right tomorrow.
Yep. Tomorrow's another day.
It's the same as
Well,
a
that's
habit
the thing.
thing.
It's
Don't
like
do
building
it.
habits, right?
Yeah, it's exactly right.
How would you guys go about like building those habits? Like, would you build a habit every week, or one habit every week, a new habit next week, new habit the week after?
There's different ways to do it.
Yeah,
It
depends on the habit as well.
It depends on you.
Yeah.
And it depends on the habit. But for me personally, I would approach it the way Dylan literally just said right now, where, you set yourself a goal of, waking up a minute before your alarm goes off, or a minute after it goes off. You're out of bed, right? Then you make your bed. For me, it should be as natural as you brushing your teeth. Like, that in itself is a habit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Subconscious.
Right? Yeah. It should just become a subconscious
Because we've been
thing.
doing that for so long.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you raise your standards so high, and you just make these daily habits every single day, and you're just executing on these habits every single day.
Yeah.
Now imagine operating at such a high standard that it's, just like brushing your teeth.
And I think the thing is, well, just start with just like one or a few habits.
Yeah.
Master that, then add more. Because if you try and bring in 50 today,
Yeah.
That's
you're going to get
problem.
overwhelmed. And just
Do
gonna
one
be
thing at a
brain.
time.
Yeah.
And people a lot of people say, if you have a habit, you need to find the trigger, replace the trigger, and a lot of things like that. And I heard something from Naval probably 6 months to a year ago. It's like, maybe that might be correct, but here's what I personally just have discipline and just do it. And just get it done. And for me, that's kind of what I subscribe to. It's like, I've told myself I'm going to go do something. I'm going to go do it. I don't need to replace it with some little biohack or something like that.
Yeah.
I've told myself I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. That's it.
Something that's helped me with like my habits is I'll like literally print out my routine, and then you just cross them off one by one.
Yeah,
by
the
one by
crossing
one,
works so well.
and then you just don't forget, because like you can think you know what to do the next day, but then you're gonna forget stuff. And so I just said to myself, like I remember like when I was struggling about becoming successful once in the past, I was like, I just looked at this sheet of paper. I'm like, dude, if I just keep doing that every day, it has to result in success, doesn't it? And it just made me feel a lot more, confident, optimistic about the future.
And then as you tick off the things, you get like a little dopamine
yeah,
hit.
little
Yeah,
dopamine.
You're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, hey, I did that one. Oh, I did the next one. Oh, hey, I'm
Yeah.
on a roll here. And you do the next one.
Dude, that momentum is so powerful, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah.
And the thing that I pair it with today as well is like I just go on Google Calendar really quick, like in the day ahead. I just make like a 15 little block of time that is just a reminder about that habit. So then it keeps popping up. So yeah, sometimes I found like I can forget to actually look at my paper. But if I forget to look at my paper, this is the backup. I'll get a notification.
Yeah, I mean, people hate using phones and all that kind of crap, and they're like, "Oh, we spend too much time with phones." I'll be honest, I use this ridiculous amount of time every day, but that's probably not going to change.
Yeah.
So, use it for what it's worth. Use the bloody functions that this thing has.
Yeah.
You know, there's no sin to it. Just use the damn thing.
Yeah.
Use it for good things.
No, for
Something that
sure.
we actually used to do as well in the past is we probably need to maybe get back into it. I know I'm getting back into it, is buying like a massive calendar
Oh,
on the wall.
Yeah, I remember
So
that.
yeah, I got it now. Got like a 2 meter by 1 meter calendar, so it's huge.
God damn.
Yeah.
That's a wall.
Yeah.
That's its own wall.
It's literally a wall.
It is one section of my wardrobe. That size.
Dude, we should use that to cover G's room as a door.
But
You want a door, G?
yeah, what I do with it is I used to do this really well in the past, but I'll like have a certain color for like reading books,
Mm.
and then I'll write
Oh,
in
yeah.
how many minutes or how many pages I read in a single color, and just keep on going. And then there's like a visual representation of what you're actually doing. And the
Mm.
theory is you want to build your chain of that color. So you're building like orange for books.
Whoa.
Then I'll do running is always green. So I'll write run 5 kilometers. I'll put the time there, then so on and so on and so on. And then the goal is to eventually create a rainbow. And you just want to never break the rainbow. So I heard some person that did this, eventually had this rainbow, was going for like 3 years. And then on Christmas Day, they looked at it and they just realized like they cannot break it. They had all the excuses in the world to break it, but because they had that rainbow going for 3 years, that they had to get it done.
That makes sense.
That's
yeah.
impressive.
That's
man.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome.
And then you can like really see like where are your standards at, because like sometimes I found like we have a bias where we actually think of ourselves higher than what is actually reality. You know, like the saying that everybody thinks that they're above average driver, but if everybody thinks they're above average, it's just mathematically impossible.
That means you're average.
Yeah. So like
Again, it's math.
Yeah.
in my brain, like I always think like, oh wow, man, I've been doing a lot of runs and stuff, but how come I'm still got a stomach on me or something? And I plug my Garmin into the computer and actually upload all my data and then check it. I'm like, shit, man, I barely been. Last run was 6 days ago. Dude, I suck. So that's why I got to get that big, calendar and actually physically do it.
Where did you get it from for the people?
I think it was one of those early books. What was it?
Oh, the actual calendar itself.
Oh, the calendar?
Is it
Oh, it's
Office
just-
Works?
I think it was Office. Oh, there's a few. You can get them off eBay or
Amazon.
Yeah, probably Amazon. I think there's a company called Office Max.
Just Amazon, boys.
Get yourself a few markers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
a few different
absolutely.
colors. Stimulate the brain.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think on that point, it's really good to also understand where you are with your current standards so that you know what your starting point is.
Mm.
Then you can map out an end point.
And reduce your ego for them.
Yeah, you have to reduce your ego or else you're going to think, like you said, oh, I'm an above average driver. When everyone thinks they're an above average driver, making you an average driver. Right?
Like, no progression will come from you thinking you're further ahead than you actually are. Because you just realize you're wherever you thought you were. More likely, you didn't progress at all.
So I hope anyone listening into this, it sparks that thinking of, fuck, where am I? What is my standard right now? I hope it sparks that in someone.
remember that for me, I think a massive one is when you go to your 9 to 5. Remember that sentence. Or remember those sentences that average people say. Of like, oh, don't worry about it. No one will see. Oh, you don't need to. It's all right. Things like that. When people say those things, remember that's the kind of person they are. You're not that kind of person.
Yeah, for sure.
Raise your standards, my guy.
Or girl.
I think another thing that we do as well is like to expand the mindset. We actually do physical things as well.
Oh yeah. 10K runs.
So we do 10K runs with a 20-liter bottle of water that we pass around with the boys. It probably hits two things because it's physically tough and it's challenging, but then we look way different. And then we create our little bubble. We're like, boys, we don't care what people think. If we're carrying around a jug of water, 20 litres, that's what we do, boys.
I'm not going to lie, that was fun. I found that fun.
My arms were so, like, all my days. That was crazy.
I think that was really good for team building also.
Yeah.
Because one person can't carry 20 liters for 10 kilometers.
Yeah.
So we just keep passing it on.
That's a great one for ego, 100%.
Oh yeah.
Great
because like when
ego.
you think, oh, I'm going to just carry it the whole time.
Yeah.
Mate, you can't.
You
can't. You need a team.
Unless you're Johnny Boy.
Unless you're Johnny Boy. Yeah.
Johnny Boy
literally is carrying 2. And he's running fucking 10 kilometers. And we're like, mate, Johnny, give it to us.
On the way back, like, when was that run? He ran like 6K on the way back, right?
Because we were all dead.
Yeah, we were all dead.
We died. And this dude, he's just, he's not even sweating.
Beating us while carrying it.
And we're just looking at him like, come on, man.
He would carry it and just be like, nah, you guys relax. You guys relax.
And like, we didn't stop, did we? We kept going. No. We had to be self-aware enough to go, dude, I can't hold that thing or else I'm done.
Yeah.
But Johnny Boy was up to the task of carrying it, but he's also that kind of person who we didn't want to let down. He's a part of our crew where he built us up. He's like, we're going to keep going. He was that inspiration for us to continue on that run.
I think Johnny Boy will be a great example of raising your standards. Like, from where he started to where he is now, insane. Like,
absolutely.
His mindset is on another level.
Yeah, when we have content come out with Johnny Boy, it's going to be great.
Yeah, can't wait for that one.
Yeah. And why do we actually do like that physical stuff? Like, we hear at our jobs like, oh, a 6-hour shift is long. Like, that's why, like, when me and G were starting this, we went on a 10-hour bike ride because it is harder to ride burning calories for 10 hours straight than to sit at a computer for 10 hours. People are like, oh, I'm actually tired from this. You haven't really burnt that many calories from sitting there. And I think the quote is, I think Muhammad Ali talks about it where he would only start counting the sit-ups when it starts to burn. So it's when you're outside of that comfort zone, you're really doing those reps to expand what your mindset is, to really raise your standards. So like another thing, like when I'll go on a run and like then it's starting to burn, I'll try and see how long I could hold a certain pace for. It's not, and then like, can I hold it for 2 minutes? And the longer I can hold it, it feels like, I'm expanding my mindset because it's really tough to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I just went on about a month ago, I went on a 20-kilometer run, and that was a journey. And you find out a lot about yourself when you put yourself in such a fatigue, and when you really challenge, your thoughts and everything that's going on in your head. You challenge your mindset when you put yourself under that kind of duress. And if people are looking to put themselves out of the comfort zone in a very achievable way, push your body to the limits. And you'll find out what you're made of real quick. So,
if you start doing stuff like that, like the next day, if you you don't work at Nando's anymore, or you don't work at all, like you work at home. But
first of all, what?
He's just calling you out.
What? You work at home.
I do work.
I don't work at all.
Imagine you're still working in Nando's. There's no way you're complaining about a 6-hour shift ever again. It's just actually easy.
It's not even possible. Well, I mean, the minute you, even at your normal job, the minute you start working that 12-hour shift, 6 hours is short. It feels weird.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Put them hours in and you'll realize really quickly how much of a bitch you were previous to it.
Yeah. So let's tell them straight. A 12-hour shift is not extreme for us. It's normal. So if you're saying like 6 hours is currently in your, 6 hours is hard or 8 hours is hard, you really got to look at yourself. If you want to be an A-class person, dude, you're kind of being like a little bit of a bitch right now.
Facts. Done. Simple. When you get up to those 80-hour weeks, 70, 80-hour weeks, that's when you're like, all right, now I'm progressing. Now I'm pushing over that line.
Yeah.
In between that 80 to 100 hours, that's when you're moving.
Yeah.
Anything below that,
Mm.
you're not doing it.
Yeah.
You're not getting it done. Because that's it.
And like that, everybody says like in Australia, like, 38 hours is so hard, it's full time. I think that's the only place in the world where I think we have the shortest work week.
Probably.
Yeah. Like if you were born in China, good luck. Everybody, it's default you work 80 hours.
For sure.
Yeah, we got it easy here.
So blessed here with the culture of like, maybe we won't get into it crazy, but the culture of like, just chill, bro. Just go and have
Take it easy, man.
Take
it easy.
Want another shrimp on a barbie? No one's ever said shrimp.
Yeah.
Anyway, but like that kind of culture of laid backness,
Yeah.
it doesn't instinctively breed success.
I mean,
like
we
other
are on
places
an
do.
island.
Big ass island.
She's
Living
a
the island
monster
life,
island.
baby.
Yeah, and I think the people around you, especially speaking Australians in general, if you're from Australia and you're living in that kind of environment, it is laid back, and unfortunately, that attitude won't get you anywhere.
Mm.
It's simply not.
I think I want to know what you boys think, but what is your standards for Hardcore Headstart? What do we want to be? What do we want Hardcore Headstart to be in the future?
What do we want Hardcore Headstart to be?
Yeah. And then like,
Where
what is
are
our
our standards? Well, the easy
us to
answer
get
is
there?
obviously our standards are as high as possible and always progressing.
Yeah.
Like, our standards for hardcore are similar to standards ourselves. That's exactly what they are, actually. We expect as much from ourselves as possible all the time, and we want that to always be getting better. And that's what hardcore is. Hardcore is that Kaizen philosophy of continuous improvement. Believing we can be better and then, actually going out and being better.
I think it does kind of come like in a balance in reality as well. Like you can't have it's always about Kaizen to constantly improve. But when you're actually bringing a deliverable, like we're bringing this podcast, obviously we can't bring it at 100% the best because we're still learning how this stuff works.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I feel like we focus on like 90% quality and then like we focus on 90% speed as well. And then we can get both of them. If we've got 100% speed, quality drops. If we've got 100% quality, the speed drops. So we try to get like, 80% of both of those or 90% of both.
Yeah, it's like of that value thing. It's like standards is like how much value we can bring, right? So if our standards are as high as possible and the value we want to bring is as high as possible, it doesn't come from the greatest quality or the most speed. It comes from a balance of between.
Balance of
right.
everything.
So what we're always wanting to give you is as much value as possible.
Let's go, boys. What do you think, G?
I agree. Got nothing much to say. I agree with Doc completely. We want to be continuously improving, pushing ourselves further. But I'm a bit quiet because I'm just thinking like I need to push myself more after hearing you boys speak. After hearing the thing about Johnny Boy, I need to push myself way more.
No, it's good that you think that way, man. I think we
Yeah.
all think that way.
That's the thing about environment,
Yeah.
right? The minute we go, I'm slacking a little bit, it's relative to the people around us who have their standards so high, which is why we have our standards so high.
Yeah.
We infect each other with such high standards, right?
Yeah,
And if
no,
you
for
were
sure.
around normal people, you would already be the best, which means your standards would drop to the majority of the standards people around you.
Mm.
Yeah.
So that's the value of having a high standard community.
Mm.
And I don't know if you guys have heard this before, but like people would say like, oh, but that's just you.
Yeah. Oh,
Only you guys can do that.
Mm.
There's nothing actually special about us other than we're implementing the stuff that we're talking about in this podcast. That's the only difference.
dude, I say this all the time. I'm the most ordinary lad.
We
Just-
all are.
We're all normal dudes who just
Got
want
two brown
to do
guys, one white guy, and one Asian. Literally, like
Living
we're
in
just a
Springvale.
bunch of boys.
Living in Springvale.
But we've just decided
Yeah.
that we want to do more. We want to be better.
Yep.
And that kind of decision just naturally leads to us seeming like we're some extraterrestrials.
Jeez.
The crazy thing is, under Hardcore Headstart, like we have this crazy goal of collectively donating $1 billion one day. Like if you think about where we all came from, to us, $1 billion just seems like an enormous amount of money. But now that we've worked together all these years and we've raised our standards to a certain level, we're just thinking, mate, is $1 billion enough? I feel like we can give way more than $1 billion. That's how I see us progressing. Like we keep getting better to the point where we have self-belief that we can easily achieve that $1 billion collectively.
It's not crazy anymore.
It's not crazy anymore. Yeah.
Like people think that they cannot make $100 million. It's actually so achievable for anyone to do it in their life. It starts with two things. It comes down to just compounding money young and compounding knowledge young. So I think, when we're talking about those guys on Wall Street that are 50, the thing that separates us is we started compounding knowledge younger than them.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, nah.
Any other points, boys, that you see there?
Well, maybe one, which is like, sometimes you can get caught up in thinking this is a sprint. We've all heard the saying before, but it truly is. It's a marathon. It's a long-term thing. It's a whole life journey. You can't say, hey, I'm going to do this for 4 years because that's what uni tells us. Jiro does it for his whole life until he dies. And that's what we do.
I mean, it's hard to add on to that because that's perfect. It's
perfect,
like,
yeah.
stop thinking. The whole world that we live in, where it comes from social media to TV, everything is trying to become shorter and more digestible and give you more dopamine hits in a shorter amount of time, right? True success in life doesn't work that way. Expand your horizons. Think as long term as possible. This is not a joke, and you've got me thinking like this now. All the boys will agree. Like, we actually think we're probably going to live to 125, 150.
I plan to live to 1,000.
Right, and people will say that's crazy, but it's obviously based on technology, et cetera, but it's like, we're thinking that far out in the future, that this is such a long game, and if we just continuously progress by 1% a day, and continuously raise our standards, continuously to give value.
Yeah, I think maybe to
gonna
wrap it
be
up,
all right.
I think a good quote by Jeff Bezos is always provide more value than you consume.
100%.
And
how it
that's
works.
his level. That's his standard. Yeah. Anything else you see there, boys, before we wrap it up?
I can't even see the bottom half.
Wrap it up.
All right,
Right,
boys.
well-
I guess that's it, boys. Let's wrap it up here, boys. Let's back it
Sounds
up.
good.
Wrap it up, boys.
All right,
Wrap it up.
back it up.
GG.
Back it up. Thank you for listening.